Hello guys, welcome back to the session hosted by Uplatz, and this is the instructor Michelle, and we'll be going through the SAP recruiting as a part of session 5. And yeah, in the last couple of sessions, you might be went through a couple of videos, and you might have learned about more interesting factor about recruiting and how it's been helping in the real world to solve the problem of how the candidate has been facing the problems or recruiting to the organizations, how the recruiting process life has been made much and much easier. So in this section, we will be, going through about as a continuation from the last session. We'll be going through the job requisition, and I will be just directly showing you the instance as well, like how well it's been tied in the platform and what are the settings that you can actually control. So we will be just going to switch over to the next slide, and we will be creating, in the last couple of slides, we have been just talking about the role-based permissions and configuring the base set. And also we will be looking onto the application status set as well. So here it's going to tie up with the job requisition. So job requisition, the applicant status is actually, it's part of a job requisition XML template, and which is actually used to control how the candidate has been routed during the hiring process. Say like if I've been moved from one state into another, right? It has to be dealt up with a couple of variety of factors, including the status as well as the permission that I hold in the system. So those information will be managed only through the applicant status set model, which is present inside the job requisition. And there are chances, that we can create a multi-stage application environment, where the statuses and the application field permission will also be controlled, because not every application is going to be laying around the same set of access level that will be performed. So those level of restrictions have been can be managed in the system. So when configuring a multi-stage application, they always need to remember the status and the status set has to be defined by the candidate permission model, which is a completely different model. So that will be laying restrictions of what a candidate will be able to view and what the the field level permissions, what they can view and update in the system. Else the candidate will not be allowed, or they will be restricted to view all that information, whatever it's been displayed. And as a best practices, what we always recommend is to configure the application status set in the not to change the application status set in the job requisition template after a requisition has been created. So now we have been working in the XML template, and we just wanted to make sure, okay, these are the application status set that has been defined, and this is a kind of a flow or route that has to be done in the application status once the application has been submitted, or once the job before the job requisition has been created, in order to avoid a conflict. Because in such cases, there are cases where that you create a job requisition, everything has been done, and finally you've been trying to change over the application status set in the template or in the XML or in the field level, right? So that will be definitely impacting the flow, where it will be showing us a broken link, and restricts like what permission they will be able to see, like what are the fields that they're able to see, what are the features that they have, and also the candidate association with the various job requisitions. So it's going to be like a complete break or complete broken link or a broken path, which is really tough situation. So it's always not recommended to do it. And I will just quickly switch back into the instance to show you that as well. So hope you might be remembering the instance, how we log in. Just wanted to quickly walk you through that. So we will be logging into the SAP instance, and this is how the front interface looks like. I'm just been clicking on the home page. Just give me a minute. So once the homepage has been loaded up, now you'll be able to see the level of information that's been displayed in the dashboard. And this information is going to be completely different for each and every candidate who is going to log in, or the user who is going to log in. And this is going to be for the holistic of SAP. And it's not going to be the same for everyone based upon your level of access and the role that you've been playing in the system. The options, whatever it display, the fields and field permission will be completely modified, or the tabs will be like the bells and whistles will be available for you or not. So it's based upon the role that you've been playing in the system. And this is actually when once you wanted to quickly look onto your, if you wanted to customize the personal, homepage, you can always do it. Or click on the personalized homepage, and it will show you the couple of options that you can play around it, so that you can quickly customize this area around it. Now it's just trying to load the tiles. Okay, these are the options. I do have it, and if I don't want this option, I can unpin it. Just clicking on the unpin, it's gonna remove that particular option. You can see that that's been grayed out, right? So which indicates like it will not be visible. And if you wanted to enable it, yes, for example, the demo master version, Rio, it's been, if you wanted to enable it, yeah, you can do it. And you wanted to enable Alumni, you can do it. And yes, you can also be, switching over like look and feel. If you wanted to put it back and forward, yes, that can most be done. Yep. So based upon your level of information or level of access that you want, you can always pin as many options as you can. Okay, now I'm just going to roll back into the recruiting. So this is how it looks like being an admin. If you have a regular admin access under the recruiting, or if you're going to be recruiter admin, or if you're going to be hiring manager. So these are the screens that you'll be able to see in the system, where it's going to show you the job requisition. That's one of our key area that we keep discussing throughout the recruiting model, how a job has been created and how the application has been moved forward into variety of workflow or route maps. And then we will also be looking on to the what are the sources that we got, what are the preference, how the candidate profile has been managed, and how the interview has been taken care, like whether he's in the phone screening, and all that options will be taken care in the interview center. So I just clicked on the candidate to quickly show you a glimpse of it. Yep, sorry about that. The system has been pretty slow today, so it's taking a little longer. Yep, this is how it's going to look like, and you can see that, right? So if you're going to be searching for a particular position, you can do it, and you will also be able to find it in the talent pool. In similar fashion, we have this other area as well. It's just taking a little longer to load, so that I don't want to click it each and every time. I will just quickly tell you about the options, and we'll switch over to the required section. Oops. Apologize, it's been taking pretty long. I'm just gonna stop share. Sorry, I'm gonna refresh the page again, and so that it's gonna come back. Okay, now I'm just gonna exit the page, and I'm just gonna reload it. That's okay. And in the meantime, let's switch over to the presentation and start looking onto the the template or areas that we have been going through. So we have been talking about the job requisition template name and all the parameters, right? Hope it just gives you a good understanding of it. And this is how the syntax of an application set looks like. And you can see that the structure here. So it's going to start up with an application status config, because it's going to deal with the application status level. And we are going to configure the parameters here. And you will be going through a couple of tags here of metadata. So where application status name, they have been just configuring it as a candidate workflow, because it's going to be dealing with the candidate permission, how the candidate has been going to move from one level to another, and what are the fields and the permission that's been allowed to do it. And yep, and what are the field permission type? I will be just going through upcoming slides. We'll be talking in a detail about each and every section, whatever it's been present here. So please don't worry about it. So we'll be covering all those sections. And this is a complete text that I wanted to show you, so that you can take a quick look onto it, and I will be talking more and more about each and every section. So the main areas that you have to take a note of here is about the role, who are the role, who is going to be performing, and what is the C data is going to be, like the permission we are going to talk about it. And what are the statuses we have, like a default interview hired. So those are the status that's been present in the application. And field levels, so what are the fields that's actually available in the system? So whether they have been in the phone screening, or what is the screening notes, what is in, so those kind of information can be captured here. In same way, we can also define the name, what's going to be, what role is going to manage it. and what are the future permissions that's been allowed. And then we'll be closing this application status config feature or the settings or the complete set of framework in the job requisition XML. I repeat, it's going to be in the job requisition XML, sorry. So job requisition application status name. So that's the first option. You can see that, right? So we have been seeing that job application status set name is equal to candidate workflow. So this is an application status set name on the job requisition created in the job requisition XML template. So this is actually, we have been trying to define the application status set inside the job requisition template. And I will also download a job requisition template for you and show you under which section it will be displayed so that you will be able to tie up with what I'm telling you and what you are able to see in the system and what is the benefit out of it. And here they have just branded that application status set name is equal to candidate workflow, where the workflow has been completely managed. So that's the reason, in this case, they wanted to manage, mention it as a candidate workflow in this example. And job requisition application status field permission, right? Okay, now we have been just talking about the job requisition XML template, right? So what happens in case of a multi-stage application? So in case of a multi-stage application, always it's required to enable those information or like, okay, this application is going to be support multi-stage application is going to be enabled. So that has to be done in the provisioning. Provisioning is a separate set of instance, and if you have been a super admin or if you have been a SAP implementation partner, you'll be having access to SAP provisioning system as well. So just make sure the provisioning settings are just, the recruiting has been enabled in the provisioning, and you always need to log into the provisioning, and then you can go into the company settings, and then you will be able to select the recruiting. And in case if this option has been not selected, in case of multi-stage application, right, and you are not, if you have not enabled those settings, and the permissions have been set as an readout of an application example, so you will not be able to perform the right operations on that. If the operation has been selected, all the fields, whatever is present in the application XML, I will be showing you the job requisition as well as the application XML as well, should be commented out. So, okay, I will be showing both the XMLs for you. And this option is selected. For example, if the provisioning company settings recruiting has been selected, right? What you have to do, you have to just go into the application XML and you have to comment out or remove remove all the fields, whatever it's been required for the right permission, like status ID, resume, and application comments permission field can be enabled, but the rest can be commented out. If contradicting field permission, say like, okay, I'm just gonna enable something in the application XML, and I'm just gonna enable in the job requisition XML as well, the field permission will not be able to reflect the same way, because what's gonna happen, it's gonna be overlapping with each other, okay? So I'm just gonna mention a field permission on the right here, and that is gonna be like a read, so both the access will be overriding the system, and systems will be definitely leading into confusion where the permission will not be rendered correctly for the recruiting users. So it's always recommended to make sure whether the provisioning access has been turned on for the recruiting in case of a multi-stage application, so that the right amount of field permission has been granted for the user. So here you can find a syntax field permission type is equal to right, where the description is already been mentioned as a right permission. Because we are gonna dealing with a field permission type is equal to right here. So that's the reason we have been just noted as a C data. C data is going to be capturing the data information with the right permission access. And the role name, who are the roles going to be, performing that right access, like a recruiter is going to do it, and G is going to be doing it like a general hiring manager or whatever the defined roles in the system will be able to do that. And what is the status? And now we are going to have like 3 set of status that has been defined: interview, default, interview, and hired. So these are the status that will be displayed for the role of a recruiter and general hirer, so that they will be able to write that, actually change that actual field. And what are the field that's going to be displayed? Recruiter phone screen date and recruiter field level permission as well. So those information can be captured here: screening notes and phone screening date. Okay, I will be switching back to the instance to quickly show you how an XML of both the fields looks like: job requisition as well as an application XML. Here you can see on admin center, when you click on it, it's going to take some time. Sorry guys about that. It's loading. Since it is back again, and now I'm just gonna under the admin center, you'll be able to find good handful of options there. Under the recruiting model, you're gonna select the the key area of a managed template. So the managed template is gonna throw you a couple of options. I think you might have went through the previous session as well. So I'm just gonna click on it once again. Up. Yep. So managed template is one of the key area or the key heart of it. So where it's going to have a multiple set of templates aligned to it, where it's going to have a job requisition, job application, as well as the candidate profile and offer details. So those are the four main template that's been present in the system. Job requisition is going to have, I was talking about, yeah, that's the main heart of it. And we have been talking about those features parallelly. So I will be just downloading one version of the job requisition template as well as the application template. Both are XML files, and I will be showing you what are the settings that's available under both the XML file so that we can modify it accordingly. Sure, I'm just going to download it. Just give me a minute so that we can take a look onto the XML file. Okay, I have that job requisition being downloaded and I have it open, and at the same time I have the job application. So I'm just going to open that as well. Just gonna open browser, and it's recommended to use a Notepad++ so that the look and feel is better, and it will all be easy to read that whatever the settings been available. So this is how an application XML looks like. So it's gonna have all the information with respect to the candidate data model. So you can see that multiple languages are supported and all the informations have been coded up. Field level labels been defined, field definitions been defined, what is a field level permission is defined. So yes, this is going to be the core heart of it, right? And in case if you have been enabling in the provisioning for the multi-stage application, it's recommended to command the sections that's not required, because the enabling the settings in both the sides of requisition as well as application could be leading to a conflict. Now, this is a job requisition template that we have been, I can show you the top. So you can see that it's going to be like a job requisition template, and they have just named as a type job requisition, spell check is false, and they have just named as like basic job requisition, the name of the requisition template. Now I'm going to look onto the application section. So this is, you can see that. So this is an application status config. As we have been seeing in this slide, it's going to start up with an application status config and close up with an application status config. So we'll be taking a look here. So in this example, you can see that what is a field level permission they wanted to provide as a read only and simple status set, and whether she can read at all the stages. They are going to define the role name. Candidate will be able to read at all the stages what is the level, and by status they have been able to have a default hire and interview, and offer and onboard shortlist. So what are the ID that will be displayed for the candidate? Like, and they have one more as a withdraw by candidate. So these are the status that will be displayed for the candidate. For the recruiter, what the permissions that they can modify, and a field level ID respect to the country, last name, its gender, criminal convocation, zip code. So these are some of the attributes that they have defined. And what is the field level permission they want to define is going to be right. So which indicates like candidate can write at all the stages on the above fields. So the same level of access has been provided, and again they have been just asking for one more level of information. So this is how it actually looks like. And coming back into the presentation, so hope it's providing a clear picture of it. And this is a field level permission type is going to be right, and they're going to perform the right operation, and the recruiter NG is going to be able to perform that particular role. And status is going to be defining the default interview and hire process, and what are the IDs that's going to be displayed for it. So what does the type actually mean? So you can see that here. Field permission type, I'm just going to show in the real-time instance. So field permission type is equal to write. So what indicates that write and read? So write indicates actually they will be able to modify that actual settings, whether they will be able to, enter the data or update information on that. But read only, they will be able to read the particular information. They will not be able to perform any write access on it. It's just like a read only and write access. So if you want to change any data, but once you have read access, no, you will not be able to do it. Only if you have the write access, you will be able to change the field settings on it. So that's the reason for the read and the write and how the statuses can be changed. So that's what I will illustrate. So the type attributes are usually defined the field permission and what kind of permission is applied in the particular permission block. So in this one, you can see that there are a couple of permission blocks that has been defined. Field permission type is equal to write, and this has been defined only for this permission. So you can see that, right? The candidate can write all the data, and these are the status that's been available for them. And this is, the field level ID that they will be able to write it. And similar fashion, you can see that field level permission is equal to read, and the team can read only at all the figure. So based upon the permission, the fields will be controlled, and what is the role that they will be able to perform. So that's the main classification or the main area of the application status. Here we read the internal and external users, and the specified job role can read this field. Both the internal and external user who has applied for the specified roles can read this field. This is applicable only on open job requisitions. The user may both read and write the fields, and the requisition is open. So it's actually just a read and write access what they have provided the definition. And usually it starts with a field level field permission type is equal to read. Hope it's providing a clear understanding of it. So description. So what is the main purpose of a description? Okay, so this is an optional element. The description is one of the most powerful or brief description, what the permission is intended to do. So we have been looking on, okay, now we are just going to mention like a read and what is going to be like a permission type is going to be right. In this example, you can see that the description they mentioned as, okay, read type is going to be read. And now they have mentioned who is going to read it. The team can actually read it all the stages. And then above framework, you can see that is equal to write, and the candidate can write it all the stages. So if someone sees your model or the framework, it can be quite easy for them to quickly understand what they can read and what they can write in the system. So that provides them a clear understanding of it, and so that anyone can quickly understand whatever you made in the XML template. It's completely understandable, and they can modify the settings accordingly. So that's the main purpose of the description. It's completely optional whether you wanted to declare that information or not. Role name. Okay, now we had just went through the field, how the field has been, what is the level of permission that we're going to define. And now we are going to take a look onto the role name element. The role name element defines, which operator is impacted in the permission block. Like we have been just trying to define a block or a framework inside the XML template under the application status set. And under the set, now we have to define what is the application field ID that's going to be defined. What is the application field ID that's going to be displayed, so that inside the field permission block. So in this example, I can show you in the real time. These are the field level permissions, right? So you can see that field application field ID is equal to resume. So that's what they've been trying to mention here. Field application field ID is equal to, they have provided this an asterisk just as an example, which indicates you field permission to all the fields that's available over there. So if you wanted to restrict it based upon or limited set of fields, yes, definitely you can put those information. If it's going to be a large amount or the entire set of data, yes, you can make it as an asterisk over there. Putting as an asterisk, it will be providing a complete set of access in the system for them. So that's the main classification of putting an asterisk, as well as mentioning the particular field type over there. So that is the main difference of putting an asterisk as well as a conflict also. Okay, and hope it's providing a clear picture on how the field type as well as the role name has been defined here. And you can see that there are a couple of roles that has been mentioned, like an operator, recruiter, recruiting manager, general hiring manager, and so on, right? So those are the role name elements that have been defined in the system. What is a multi-stage? So there are applications that will be going through a multi-stage application process. Like okay, there might be a couple of status that we have to set it up, where by default, when I say status of a multi-stage, they will be going through a series of chart or a series of workflow that has to be defined in the system, and it can be adjusted on whether the applicant has been rolled out an interview offer or in some other state. So not everyone will be moved directly from roll off and phone screening into providing into offer. There has to be a multi-stage process that has to be carried out into the system. So the field level permission can be defined accordingly. The status has been set from default and interview and hired here. So which indicates the application will be going through a certain set of process on it, and the field permission can be restricted for what to display and what to hide. Based upon the application and requisition data. So whatever it's been provided in the application level as well as the requisition level, the data will be completely controlled here. And the status is going to be interview, default interview and hired. And it's real-time example, let's take a look. So the field level ID that we've been seeing through, and yep, they have a couple of field level permissions that's been defined. Yes, you can see that. I'm just been trying to scroll down to show you that. Oops, there are like a couple of field permissions that they have defined for this role. And yeah, that comes to the end of it. And now field permission candidate questions. Now they have been trying to define it, and they are trying to define the multi-stage in case if there is a multi-stage, right? I'm just going to put it to the status so that we can quickly search for that. Yep, status, you can see that. In case if status is going to be defined of what happens if a candidate is going to be withdrawn. So we are going to have a display a couple of notes for them. Attention ATT notes, reason for the rejection and the customer. So those are the three kind of fields that will be displayed if the candidate has been withdrawn from the position. So it actually indicates the status, what's been going through it. And field elements and application field ID attributes. So these are kind of like a field application ID attributes that will be, quoted out on there. We can definitely lay around or mention like what are the fields that has to be, available for the learners to perform that operation. Here, the field IDs has been mentioned as a recruiter phone screen date and screening notes. So those are the field level permission or field level ID that's been displayed. And in case if you wanted to show all the IDs that's been available for them, yes, definitely you can put an asterisk over there. The asterisk will be helping you to display all the information in the screen rather than limiting the list of field ID. Okay, this has to be shown and this can be restricted because based upon each and every field permission blocks, this information can be completely customizable. So I'm just leaving you to guys based upon your actual need. You can define the block in the XML of the job requisition. And the required elements, now we have just seen about a good amount of understanding on the field level permission. Now let's take a look on to what is the required. And you've been telling me the description has been not as an optional, right? And now we have a condition, or we say like, okay, this is kind of a required attribute and the field application ID. And now I have provided these are field applications ID saying like country, first name, last name, and all that, right? The first name and last name is almost mandatory for all the candidate application what's been submitted. So in this case, we will be having an option to, field enable that required as equal to true, where it indicates like a required field and it has to be filled up with some information. It cannot be left as a blank field. So that's the actual indication of the purpose of required is equal to true. And job requisition applications, feature permissions. So feature permission type. So which defines what operator access or special functionalities that has been enabled, and the number of features can be unlimited number of features can be enabled in the requisition XML. So you can see that feature permission type they have just defined as an interview assessment. An interview under the interview assessment, what's the description of it? User can launch the interview assessment and what role is going to perform, recruiter as well as a general hire, generic hire manager. So status can be interview. So they will have only the interview status, and this is going to be the feature permission. And let's take a look onto the example here. And we are talking about the feature permissions, right? So here we can see that the feature permission has started here. I'm just going to find it. Okay. Now the feature permission is going to be, I'm just going to close the tag and open it. So here the feature permission type is going to be like an interview assessment. Yeah, let's take this example because that's very small. Feature permission is going to be a type interview assessment. So here we can find that it's a feature permission type is equal to interview assessment, and under that we have this description. Following role can launch the interview assessment during the specified status. So when the status has been ongoing, like a postponed interview, right? The following roles can do that: operator, recruiter, general hirer. So those user can perform or enable that information. So that's the actual feature that we have been trying to define for them. So that's how the block or the permission looks for them. So the permission type is going to be interview assessment, and these are the roles that they can perform it. Type attributes. So the type attributes of the feature permission elements determine, what kind of information can be displayed for what users. We have been talking about feature permission type is equal to interview assessment. What is the actual purpose of it? We have a different type that's been available in the system. Probably you can select one out of it by default in XML, and you can see the below table what kind of functionality is available, like candidate questions, late stage app, interview assessment, offer approval, offer letter, assessment integration, historical question answers, historical assessment result, historical background check result, and onboarding. So these are kind of a permission type that's been available, and each and everything has a detailed description. What is the purpose and why do we need to enable this feature permission type? So I'm not sure whether you can read the description, so I just wanted to provide a quick summary of it. Candidate questions in case of a multi-stage application, right? Whether it's going to be like going through multi stages of like for the candidate, the permission must be provided to the C operator. So there are, I think you might have went through that operator levels, right? There are different level of operators that's been available. C refers to the candidate operator. In the default status of allows the application status access to pre-screened questions. So during the application process, now you can see like, okay, this candidate has to go for a set of pre-screening, whether he has eligible rights to work on this country or region. So those kind of pre-questings has to be done. And next step is going to be like configuring the feature permissions for the multiple status or for pre-screening questions. So what kind of, he's going to select and what is going to be the information that's going to be displayed out. However, you also need to know that you cannot configure the read permissions for the candidate to the pre-screening questions. And it's recommended not to use this type of single stage in example, like in case if there is a single stage application, there is one flow of stage that's going to be taken over. It's not recommended to enable this. Late stage app, it's like a late stage application environment. In this type, invite to apply. As for example, application might be overdue and all that, right? So invitation now it has to be rolled out only for a specific set of a learner. Hey, apply for this job, and invitation into a late stage application appear, and it can be controlled and enabled in the action menu for the applicants who have been forwarded and then added to the requisition. Interview assessment provides access to the interviewer's portal on the application page. They will be able to see that, including ability to set up the interviewers and view all the ratings after interview assessments are completed. So it's recommended these options being enabled only for the recruiters so that they will be able to see that. If you enable that to the actual candidate, then definitely could be panicking situation. And offer approval provides access to the offer approval application, offer approval action in the offer menu. So it's actually just providing to an offer approval, like, okay, whether he has been hired for the position. It's like approval state for that. An offer letter is going to be just an letter, which is going to be providing the information about whether he has been assigned to the job, and the information about his designation and all that information can be provided to them. So these are kind of a different types. And assessment integration provides an assessment integration portlet, where it's going to be like having an integration with the other parameters or other systems or the application. So that's going to define the integration mechanism on it. And historical questions and answers. Okay, now provides a question and answer historical based upon whatever it's has in the historical results, right? Based upon that, it will we can populate that with respect to the historical question answers and historical assessment results and background check. So the background check can also be tracked and the access can be provided based upon them. It's just for on in the similar fashion for the onboarding as well. And just to be noted, these are related to job requisition. So just be careful when you enable based upon that setting, because each and every country is going to have their own set of configuration parameters. Not all the countries going to be having an identical job requisition. In similar fashion, not everyone will be having like experienced professional will be having a different application style and job requisition as well. And while the junior or the fresh college grads might be having a different kind of a job requisition for them. So that's what the main difference of it. So description is going to be an optional and completely customizable, and only one description can be mentioned for the feature permission. So the feature permission is kind of like an important aspect. So based upon the level or the type that you wanted to declare, just mention, okay, this is the type that I'm just going to mention it. And only these are the types that we allowed, okay? And yep, this is what we're going to be talking about the interview assessment right now. That's taking an example of a feature permission is equal to interview assessment. Here you can see that it provides access to the interview portal and ability to set up interviews and view the ratings. Now we have been allowing them to perform the operation of an interview assessment. And that's the reason they have like an interview permissions being granted in under the description. And role element and okay, role element, as we see, like, okay, now you might have good understanding. Okay, what is the role and what is the role field application field ID refers to. Role name defines to which operators are impacted by the permission block. So who has actually granted to that recruiter has been granted, and is going to be general hire is going to be granted. Each permission block has been supported by multiple roles. So maybe like I'm just going to list out the field application ID like asterisk, right? So it's going to display all the fields, and these roles can be able to perform those operations in the system. And if you wanted to customize it and lay around conditions or restriction around it, yes, definitely I will be able to lay around it based upon those. Status element, similar fashion for the feature permissions, I will be able to control what is going to be, what kind of access can be provided. The only conditional control available in the feature permission is through the applicant status. Only through under the application status you will be able to define. And this field permission can be adjusted based upon whether the interview, what status of it, like it's in a default interview offer or any other state, that whatever the status you've been trying to define, you'll be able to see that. The status C data must be set at the name of the status value set up in the admin center. I will be quickly going into the admin center and showing you the edit application status. As being a recruiter admin, I will show you that. Attempting to use the internal label or candidate label for the screen does not work. So just wanted to make sure, the internal label or the candidate label cannot be modified. Okay. Just going to be keep working. I'm just going to extend the session. I'm just going to go into the admin center and edit application status. So where we're just going to be logging into the instance quickly, and we'll be just pulling out to the. So here we will be under the recruiting, right? We will be able to locate the edit application status. So these are the set of status that's been available in the system. Only those status can be selected here. And if you have any other, you will not be able to define or enter the information which is not available. So here, there are some set of standards that has been defined already. So if you wanted to add new, you can always click and add new and define your own set of status in the system. I'm just going to click on add new, and now it's going to ask you, okay, what is the status set name and what is the description of it? And yep, here we have the status name as a forwarded, invite to apply, and system by default has a status of auto default, requisition closed, hired, withdrawn status. So these are kind of status that's been available. And if you want to create your own status, you can create that or customize it. So here, status set for VPN by default, I think the standard status set has been enabled, and you will be allowed to edit or duplicate it in order to create your new set of status. I'm going to create a new set of status for you here. Welcome you. I'm just going to be hired for train. Just status is for, I could just mention hired for digital and analytics. The status is for the digital and analytics team. Okay, I'm just going to put it like I have finished. Now a new status is going to be displayed for them. Sure. Now I just created a new status set, and now hired for DNA is going to be like one of the new status set it's going to be displayed. And in case we wanted to edit that or change the name, I will always be allowed to perform those operations. Yeah. And once it's done, you will be able to activate, edit it or perform any changes. Okay, and you will also be able to filter it whether based upon you wanted to see all the status that's been available, or you wanted to see only the active set. And now you can see in this one, the list of options that's been enabled under the status set. And those are the options you will be able to mention it under the default interview hire. If it has not been a part of that particular one, then you will not be able to mention it. So if you have your own set of word, okay, if I just been put hired for DNA, right? If you just put for hired for Power Beta or something like different one hired for sales, then definitely it's not going to work because you have to match it with the exact keyword that's been shown in the edit application status. So that makes a difference. Now, job requisition application template name, right? Okay, now just mentioned we have went through that complete set of flow of a feature permission. Now let's take a look on application template name. Is this application template name is been defined in the application XML template. So earlier we have been going through a couple of information requesting to the job requisition, right? Now it's put into it. Now the feature permission is configured, application status. Yeah, we went through a complete set of information, what's available in the application status config, what is the level of application going through. An application template name has been done and we have been configuring it. So you can always edit it and upload it. So the XML is one of the best way that you'll be allowed to control the restrictions and access level. In parallel, we have this application XML as well, where you will be able to, we'll be going through that application XML in detail and talk about that. So here we will be talking about the application XML is displayed to the candidate and recruiting users. So what's the main purpose of application XML? If you ask me, it's going to be displayed for the candidate as well as the recruiting users when managing applications on job requisition, creating for the job requisition template. So let me download quickly the job application template and show you that job application XML. So here, job requisition element of candidate email permission, right? All operators can access that email option on the application record. If you have any restrictions, certain operators, if you have to restrict saying like, okay, I don't want to include all operators to trigger an email option, or I just wanted to lay some conditions or limitations around that. Definitely the candidate email permission can be, helpful for you to lay control around that. And yeah, just can be added to the requisition HTML in case if you wanted to restrict those candidate email permission element, it can be added to the requisition, and only the permission the users with the access will be access to the email options. Candidate email presentation type is equal to candidate email. I will show you the syntax and the application. So I hope you remember. I'm just switching back into the live admin side. It's asking message because I didn't click on the finish. That's the reason it was throwing me that error message. Now clicking on recruiting, I'm just gonna run into the manage template, and now I will be allowed to download it. I'm just gonna come over there. Yep, job applications. I'm just gonna download this job application XML. So that's one of the other important XML. I'm just clicking on it to download it. Yep, and there you go. I have it here. So job requisition HTML. Yep, sorry, XML. Please apologize for the word HTML often. So XML job application XML. So here they're going to define the template name and the languages that they're going to support. And let's take a look on to the candidate permission type. So they don't have enable that option here. That's fine. So this is actual reason why for whom the candidate permission or email permission can be restricted all along. So based upon the level of information that you wanted to lay hands on or restrict, we can definitely restrict. And it can be done in the requisition HTML. Only here they have allowed recruiters can email the candidate, and that's the reason they have this permission type as candidate email has been allowed. And the recruiter role name, recruiter will be defined. That's the reason that they've been defined by the role name, and the email permission has been granted. And yeah, this field is completely optional, and the field can be left blank or based upon that information what they wanted to do. And this is a block intended to do, which could be providing only one description can be mentioned for the field level permission, and it just provides a complete hands-on whether you wanted to provide that information or not. So it's not a mandatory one, it's completely optional one. So based upon your need, you can always provide that. And it's recommended to have only one description, and you cannot have like 2 or 3 descriptions around that. Job requisition standard fields. I'm just gonna show you a quick overview of what is a job requisition standard fields is gonna include, which is going to be a quite big, massive guide. And so that's the reason I want to put it here. It's been loading up the mic Excel file. Just give me a minute. Some reason it's been verifying my Excel for a while. Hope it didn't recall that's me. Okay, I'll be going through that field. Let it load. I don't want to waste the time here. I'm just switching over to the job requisition standard field types. Okay, what are the fields that's usually supported in the job requisition template XML file? So here are the types of field that's been supported. Like, okay, text has been supported, which is going to be an alphanumeric, and mostly it's within 100 limit characters, and you will not be able to put more than 100 characters. So that's the reason it's a single alphanumeric. It's been loaded finally. Yep, I will be coming to it. Let's take a look onto this one, and then I will move over there. It's mostly allowed 100 characters limit, and if you wanted to put some text or wanted to mention something over there, we always recommend to have it like 100 characters limit on it. So each text field can store only one value per locally, and allowing users to toggle between languages to enter data in various locally. So the text field can be put it for based upon the local or languages. The text field can be configured. Text area, multiple lines in case if you wanted to type something or like a very big notes on it. So it's always allowed with a 4,000 as a character limit, and displayed 100 characters will be displayed for each line across a white box. And there might be if you've been typing more than 100 characters, only the top 100 will be displayed, and the rest will be back into the it will be sent to the back, but it will be always available in the screen. And character limits or and display or not configurable by default, it will be displayed in the same way as it's been shown in the screen. So each text area and the fields can store only one value per locally, and allowing the users to toggle between each and every locally to enter the information across the local languages. When I mention locally, it's going to be referring across the languages. The date format has been supported in the requisition is always like a DDMMYYYY. It's date, month, and also the month, data, YYY. So these are the two formats that's been supported, and it can be selected. Date can be manually entered by user, or it can be configured in the system by the pull down. I mean, by what the calendar icon will be available, and you will also be able to select a percent value with one decimal. Like, okay, it's always like percentage will be having like multiple decimal points and options. So always like one decimal has been supported here, and the Boolean value is going to be like a true or false based upon it. The informations can be selected, whether it can be checked or unchecked. So it's like straightforward. It's a Boolean value. Enumeration, the type is going to be showing a pull down list where the values are already defined in the XML. And number is going to be actual numbers with the two decimal places and formatted by the local language. Currency is going to be like currency symbol that's been determined in the field of currency. And pick list, yes, we're going to have like a pick list option comes from, defined in that admin. Derived, it's going to be a pull down or find value, which is already derived from one system that automatically is determined. So let's say like for the derive, I can say like example of a country. If I'm in the US, I'm just going to have a select an option called Pennsylvania, and it's going to display all the small minor counties which has been under that. Instructions are non-editable, which is going to be like left to right. It's just provide on-screen message for the users where they can read it. And in case we wanted to show some error message, if some informations are not populated, yes, that can be done as part of an instruction. Multi-attachment, a field that can have multiple document. Let's say like if a candidate is trying to upload a profile, then multi-attachment is being supported. Rich text is going to be like an alphanumeric lines with almost like 32,000 character limit, which is a very massive limit, and which includes a hidden characters are used to define HTML formatting as well. So it's going to be like a rich text fields that stores, that you might be aware of it, like using tags and all that. And again, supports language or local information. Job code is an auto-populated data on the new requisition on job classification foundation objects. So job code is one of the important factors that you always need to define for a requisition. Competencies, competencies are used in the interview central because competencies are actual skill set, like what actual competency are you looking for hiring a candidate. So those information can be categorized and it can be declared in the requisition standard field. Right? Operators or recruiting operators special field, that can be defined on a particular or predefined list of fields, and recruiting team, operator team is going to be like a set of recruiter teams who is going to perform the job as a team. Assessment is an integration of packages. Now, I'm just going to quickly switch over to the Excel and walk through that quickly. So there are a set of fields that have been available, like, okay, show you what are the fields available and what are the types. So we have been just going through some of the standard types here, right? What is available in there. Here are the total set of list fields. I think there are like a pretty huge amount of list, almost like 195 data fields have been available that you can use in the job requisition template. We're just quickly going in a high level so that you get some good understanding of that. Standard fields. Okay, now we have the standard as well as the custom or standard, based upon the value, like filter one. It's an actual standard fields that's going to be available. What are the filters that's been available? What are the multi-select? If you want to select 2 or 3 options over there in the multi-select, and job code related to it if you wanted to customize it. An operator team or operator field, like a recruiter or recruiter field. So these are kind of like a fields that's been available. And what is an actual field ID, like start date? Okay, let's take like a start date has been available for them, and agency posting. So these are kind of like a standard fields that's available for even the candidate or whomever it's applying for the job under this particular section, right? This information can be displayed, and the type is going to be what are the types that's been available, like it's a date or derived or pick list or whatever it is, right? So those information has been available under those area. Company visibility, we can have this coordinator email, derived coordinator phone, corporate posting. So corporate posting can be a true or false. So, cost of hire is going to be the currency type. We need to know what is the cost of this job requisition country. It's already derived because it's just going to be the list of countries in the world, right? So not some country is going to jump in newly, so we can put the type as derived. And default language, it's going to be like text area or a pick list based upon the organization need. This language can be selected up. And these are a couple of standard fields like evergreen, external end date, internal end date. So there might be two set of classifications. One is for external and internal. And yep, in the same way, we have this hiring manager email, which is a derived one you can pick based upon from the integration that we have. And now we see that couple of internal job header and footer as well. Like if it is going to be internal one, it can be displayed in the rich text format. And similar fashion, yeah, there are a couple of fields. If I wanted to go a deep dive into it, might be a little more time consuming. So I don't want to deep dive all 190 plus fields that has been available for them. Quickly jumping on to the standard field, filter field. So these are kind of filters that's been available as part of quick list, whether you can select from the drop options that's been available from you. So these are kind of a quick list that's been available. Multi-select, it's going to be allowing you to multi-select couple of options. And now you can see that almost like how much is that? Almost 15 multi-field can be selected and completely customized. A job code is going to be the codes that's been utilized, and we can definitely have a custom dates for it. And it's almost like 5 customs can be included, and custom long level fields and custom string. So based upon the level of information that you're passing through, the string, long, and all that, right? So each and every type has it. So if you wanted to have some dates and strings and all that, right? So those information can be, put it across. It's going to be like same job code field here, standard job code field. And next, the operator level. Okay, now I just wanted to mention something as an operator or coordinator level of information. So what are the fields that's been supported? You can find that coordinator name, which is actually a recruiter name, and who is a hiring manager, who is a hiring manager, who's the originator. So those kind of information can be captured here. In similar fashion, we have this standard operator team field where, it's going to be like group of team, right? Who's going to be the coordinator of the team, who's going to be the recruiter team, and who's going to be the second recruiter, and where do you got the source and all that. VP of staffing information and all that. It's just going to be like a team level information. So this lays the hands-on of the list of fields that's been supported. I'm just going to be closing it up. So, yep. And the next slide that we have just seen a few minutes before about the types that's been supported and what is the definition and what is the description of each and every stuff. And this holds us to the end of the session for the job requisition. And thank you everyone for joining this wonderful session hosted by Uplatz. And this is your instructor, Michelle. Thank you guys. Take care.